Good afternoon. This is Eric Caller with the National Weather Service for July 14th. We have a couple options for you to further refine your weather search. 1-800 number that'll get you into a menu system to help, again, further refine your search for weather. And we also have a web page, weather.gov/Alaska. Take off Alaska and put in Fairbanks, Anchorage, or Juneau. And again, that is designed to help you further refine your search. If you want to contact us, there is an email there at the bottom of the list. If you have any questions about the program or weather service in general, please don't hesitate to contact us. For hazards map, we really don't have any watches, warnings, or advisories out currently. I will note that there is a flood advisory out for the Delta River near Larry Spingler Road until 12:30 p.m. on Wednesday, but otherwise the map is remaining pretty clear statewide. For fire danger, I looked at the values today. We don't have any fire danger, but it looks like it might be better for fire danger over the next couple of days with drying conditions in the copper, and again, we're going to focus mostly our energy in the Fort Yukon area and Upper Yukon, but we'll continue to watch that. For Alaskans wildland fire information, for July 13th, there was only 489 strikes, and you can see that most of those strikes were aligned near the Yukon River up into Tanana in the Bettles area, but otherwise over into the Yukon Territory. For precipitation estimates for ending 12Z this morning about 4 a.m., you can see that there was an area around Fairbanks that had about a ½ inch of rainfall. Otherwise, the Panhandle measured half to an inch of precipitation over much of the central and central Panhandle, but otherwise pretty light precipitation statewide. For the satellite map, you can see the low pressure system near the northeast Gulf Coast, again spreading precipitation through the Panhandle, and again up to a ½ inch and maybe even an inch in some areas there. But otherwise, another low pressure system near the Aleutians, spreading clouds and precipitation through the western Aleutians into the southern Bering. And you can also see some fog through much of the Bering and into the YK Delta, and some fog around Norton Sound. Otherwise, some fog along the Arctic coast, and some showers associated with those thunderstorms through the Yukon River. For today's weather, 997 millibar low near the Aleutians. Again, a weakening occluder front, fog and rain associated with that system in the western and central Aleutians. Fog out through the Bering around the high pressure ridge, 1014 millibars there. But otherwise, another low pressure system near the northeast Gulf Coast, spreading precipitation, moderate precipitation in some areas of the Panhandle. Otherwise, 1004 millibar low there. And again, thunderstorms through the Yukon River and into the Brooks Range. For tonight's weather, that fog and even maybe some snow showers there along the Arctic coast, but otherwise light rain through the Seward Peninsula into the Kotzebue Sound and northwest Gulf Coast. Otherwise, 996 millibar low now, a trough associated with that system, light rain into the southern Bering and portions of the Aleutians, and weakening low near the Panhandle, light rain associated with that system. Wednesday's weather, thermal lows in the afternoon, thunderstorms kick up, and light rain showers associated with those two systems. Otherwise, a trough associated with that low near the Brooks Range, fog again along the Arctic coast and down through the west coast as well around that ridge of high pressure, and a weakening low near the Panhandle. It continues to spread rain showers light across the Panhandle. For Thursday's weather, again, afternoon thunderstorms will be the main weather across much of the mainland. 1004 thermal low, millibar low there, and fog along the Arctic coast. Otherwise, another shortwave associated with that low near the Aleutians gets into Bristol Bay, 1006 millibars there. Otherwise, light rain showers associated with that system. For low temperatures, Wednesday morning, 30s across the North Slope, Kaktovik, 31, Dead Horse 36, Ukqiavik 34, Point Hope 43, otherwise AKwx Pack 38, Fort Yukon 52, Eagle 45, 52 in Fairbanks, Tanana 49, and then Bettles 49 as well, and Galena 50, King Salmon 45, 50s down through the southwest, 49 in Bethel as you get towards the coast, and then 50s and 40s as you get down through the Alaska Peninsula and into the Aleutians. Kodiak 54, Cordova area 54 as well, and then 49 in Yakutat, 52 in Haines, 49 in Juneau, 52 in Ketchikan. For high temperatures Wednesday afternoon, popping up into the 40s there along the Arctic coast. Ukqiavik 40, and then Dead Horse 45, Point Hope 49, AKwx Pass 56, Adigan Pass or Arctic Village 50 or 61, 72 now in Fort Yukon, 72 in Eagle, and then you get down to Tanana 68, 65 in Galena, 70 in Fairbanks, Northway 72, Denali National Park 65, Talkeetna 74. And then 68 in Aniak, 68 in Bethel, 70 in Dillingham, 74 in King Salmon, 50s down through the Alaska Peninsula and Aleutians, St. Paul 50, Savunga 47, Kodiak 70, and then Yakutat 61, Haines 63, 61 in the state capital Juneau, and 59 in Ketchikan. For low temperatures Thursday morning, popping back down to the 30s along the Arctic coast, and then 43 in Point Hope, 47 in Arctic Village, and AKwx Pass 40, 52 in Fort Yukon, 47 in Eagle, and then 49 in Tanana, 50 in Galena, and then 52 in McGrath, and 50 in Aniak, 52 in Bethel, 47 in King Salmon, Dillingham 52, 50s for much of the Alaska Peninsula, and 40s for the Aleutians, St. Paul 47, Savunga 43, Kodiak 54, and Seward 52, Cordova 54, 47 in Yakutat, 49 in Haines, and 50s through much of the southern panhandle. For high temperatures Thursday afternoon, we're going to be seeing 40s maybe there at Dead Horse, 38 at Kaktovik, 38 in Ukqiavik, 56 in Arctic Village, 54 in AKwx Pass, 49 in Point Hope, 67 in Fort Yukon, 67 in Eagle, 65 in Bettles, and 67 in Fairbanks, and 63 in Tanana, 61 in Galena, 65 in McGrath, 67 in Aniak, 70 in Bethel, 70s through much of the southwest Bristol Bay area, 70 in King Salmon, 70 in Dillingham, and 50s through much of the Alaska Peninsula into the Aleutians, 49 there out there in Shimia, 59 in Cold Bay, and Dutch Harbor 56, 56 in St. Paul's, 49 in Savunga, and then 65 in Kenai, Homer 65, Seward 68, Cordova 58, Valdez 67, 61 in Yakutat, 65 in Haines, 65 in the state capital Juneau, 60s through much of the southern panhandle, with 63 in Ketchikan. And again, to summarize, most of the weather associated with any systems will be light precipitation associated with thermal lows in the interior. Afternoon thunderstorms continue through much of the region. Otherwise, flying weather looks to be very nice, especially over the pass regions, Alaska Range, and into the Brooks Range, and even clearing conditions there in the Panhandle after the weakening low pressure system there over the next couple days.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Taking a look at the flying weather for Wednesday morning, IFR conditions showing up there just along the Arctic coast there. Otherwise, areas of IFR conditions down through the west coast, Seward Peninsula, down in the YK Delta. IFR conditions through much of the Aleutians and into the Bering, and IFR conditions over portions of the Panhandle. Marginal conditions there in isolated areas over the St. Elias Mountains. And for Wednesday afternoon, IFR conditions, marginal conditions showing up there along the Arctic coast, and that marginal conditions down through much of the west coast, Seward Peninsula, and IFR conditions over the tip of the Seward Peninsula there, and IFR conditions down through the Bering and Aleutians, southern tip of the Alaska Peninsula, and marginal conditions spreading out in the northeast Gulf Coast. Otherwise, improving conditions across the northern Panhandle. IFR conditions again showing up there in the southern end of the Panhandle. For Thursday morning, IFR conditions again come on shore along the Arctic coast, also in Kotzebue Sound there on the north side of the Kenai Seward Peninsula. Marginal conditions down through Norton Sound and into the YK Delta, and very nice flying conditions down through the southwest and into much of the southern mainland. Otherwise, IFR conditions down through the Aleutians and into the southern end of the Alaska Peninsula and out through much of the Bering Sea and into portions of the northern Gulf. Otherwise, marginal conditions scattered through the Panhandle and into the mountainous areas of south central into the southeast interior. Thursday afternoon, marginal conditions there again along the Arctic coast, down through the west coast. IFR conditions down through much of the Bering and into the Aleutians and Alaska Peninsula, even southern end of the Kodiak Island. And IFR conditions in the Gulf, marginal conditions scattered through the Panhandle and into the northern Gulf coast. Otherwise, very nice flying conditions throughout much of the mainland. Pass conditions, very nice flying conditions throughout the passes, Anaktuvuk VFR, Adigan VFR, Lake Clark and Merrill VFR, Rainy VFR, Windy VFR, Isabel VFR, Mentasta VFR, Tinita VFR, even Portage VFR. Chilkoot and White will be the only ones that have marginal early, improving to VFR conditions during later in the day. And freezing levels, you have to go down to the up to the Arctic coast there to find the surface just off the coast there. Otherwise, elevated freezing levels, 6,000 foot freezing levels just off the Arctic coast there. Otherwise, 8,000 foot freezing level comes across the mainland, and 10,000 foot covers most of the Bering Sea down through the Bristol Bay and over to the southern end of the Panhandle. 8,000 foot freezing level again showing up there in portions of the northern and central part of the Panhandle and into British Columbia, Yukon Territory, and 12,000 foot freezing levels out through the Gulf region. For icing, I did analyze some areas with between -5 and -15 and areas of favorable moisture, so above 10,000 feet in those two areas in the state of Alaska. And jet stream looking at low pressure systems scattered throughout the state, mainly the low in the Aleutians, 50 knot winds across eastern Aleutians, and westerly to northwesterly winds through the southwest and into the Kenai Peninsula and down through Kodiak Island, 40 miles per hour, 35 miles per hour across the Kenai Peninsula, and then 80 miles per hour at the southern end of the Panhandle around a low pressure system in the Yukon Territory, and 35 miles per hour wind in the eastern Brooks Range around that low pressure system. And then 9,000 foot winds, again, much the same scenario, 20 to 30 knots around low pressure systems across the state and then even into just off the Panhandle there. 3,000 foot 3,000 foot winds, again, low pressure system there continues to show up at this level with 30 to 35 miles per hour around counterclockwise flow, and that low pressure system just off the Panhandle, much the same winds there, otherwise light and variable across the mainland. Turbulence below 2,000 feet in the loop.
Welcome to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snider, and joining us once again is our good friend Eric Stevens from GINA, the Geographic Information Network of Alaska. Thanks again for joining us, Eric. We really appreciate it, as always.
Happy to be here, Dave.
Thanks. And, you know, we're going to ask you some more satellite questions here, but, you know,
Okay.
Since you're a regular guest, we're going to give you a riddle this time, kind of a trick start to the show.
Okay.
How do you see a polar bear in a snowstorm?
Sounds like a challenging question because
Okay.
the polar bear is white and the snowstorm's white.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Well, in the world of satellite meteorology, you couldn't, because the spatial resolution of this instrument that we're going to talk about today has 375 meters resolution, and even the most well-fed polar bear will not be 375 meters across.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to run into such a
No, it'd be a
creature,
bad day.
would you? In the satellite meteorology world, the equivalent would be, how do you tell the difference between clouds and then an area that has no clouds but's covered by snow,
Right.
a piece of ocean that has no clouds but has sea ice?
Ah.
All three of these are white. The
Right.
snow, the clouds, the sea ice, it's all white. So how, using satellite data, can you tell someone where the clouds are and where the clear areas are? This is important for aviators. Mariners want to know, in the ocean there, this white stuff, is that sea ice or is that just a cloud?
Right.
How do we tell the difference? And it turns out, if you look, say, at a picture of Alaska from the springtime, March or April, and it's high noon, so we're getting a lot of sunshine. If you were riding on a satellite with your human eye, look down, everything's white.
Right.
And we've got a picture of Alaska from early April, and we're seeing some of the lower elevations in south central Alaska are melting out, getting some brown ground there. But otherwise, there's a whole lot of white on the image. What areas are cloudy, but what areas are clear and covered by snow or ice?
Okay.
It turns out that if we leave the visible spectrum behind a little bit. See, a satellite has multiple channels in the electromagnetic spectrum that it can look at.
Oh, okay.
Part of that's visible light, what we
Right.
see as humans, but there's a lot going on at other wavelengths. If we add in something that's called near infrared, what we couldn't quite see, but we're getting into that infrared territory, there's a magical property that we can exploit.
Secrets to find. Okay.
Oh yeah, this is actually powerful and almost magical, that at a slightly longer wavelength, when the sun shines down on Alaska and then it bounces off back to the satellite, at that near infrared wavelength, it turns out that snow and ice will absorb that wavelength, but liquid water, like liquid droplets in a cloud, will reflect it back.
Okay.
And that's not the way it works in visible. You know, visible, it just bounces off of all those targets the same. But at near infrared, snow and ice absorbs it, and the liquid will reflect it back. Liquid cloud droplets will do that.
Okay.
And so an image where everything looks white suddenly becomes colorful.
Oh,
And the way this recipe works is that the clouds look pink, and the snow-covered ground and the ice-covered ocean look blue. Suddenly now, we're able to see the polar bear in the snowstorm. We're able to see where the clouds are and where the snow is and where the ice is. This is a powerful advantage. Consider the case zooming into the Bering Strait area. What if you were asked to brief a pilot who wanted to fly, say, from Kotzebue down to Savunga or Gamble, and had to fly VFR, visual flight rules, so they had to stay out of the clouds? Could you use a satellite image where everything is white to provide that pilot any guidance?
It'd be pretty tricky.
Very tricky. And that's why we have to go to this other recipe where the all-white polar bear in the snowstorm becomes more colorful. And now we can tell the pilot, aha, this is a cloud you want to stay out of, but over here, sure, it looks white in the visible spectrum, but what we're doing, we'll show you, oh, this is just snow-covered ground, but it's clear, so you can fly right through there, visual flight rules. Same thing for a mariner who might want to get down to St. Lawrence Island, say, but it has to avoid the sea ice. This product has applicability there as well.
Wonderful.
It's an amazing new technology, so many new channels. The satellite that makes this imagery actually has 22 different channels that it looks at.
22 secret decoder rings.
22 secret decoder rings.
Okay. You know, I liken this to an activity I had in the car when I was growing up. We go on long car rides, and we do all the work in these activity books to, you know, stay calm, cool, and collected for our parents who are trying to get us across the state. But to get the answer, the real answer, you had to apply that red sheet to see the answer or the secret path or whatever the message was in that activity book to get you onto the next page. And it's also like a photography filter, right? If you're taking a lot of pictures, you can apply different colors to see different parts of that image. I mean, that sounds a lot like what you're talking about.
Oh, you know it. The information is in there all along. We just have to combine the channels in a way to reveal what's in there. And by the way, you're dating yourself. So you didn't have an iPad in the back of the car?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, we have, lastly, for dessert, there's a great image of this same kind of recipe. We're looking at South Central Alaska the first week of January. In first week of January, the sun, even at noon, is really low on the horizon, barely up. And in this image, the fun thing is the shadow of Denali. We can see the shadow of Denali over a lower pink cloud deck.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And Denali at 20,000 feet casts a big shadow. So this is another, just for fun, kind of application here. This is called multispectral satellite imagery, and it's the future. And happily, the future is now.
Oh, that is fascinating. And 22 different secrets that can be revealed from just one satellite tool that's floating overhead. Eric, thanks so much for joining us again. We can't wait to have you back and telling us more secrets of satellite technology that are passing over us every single day, many times a day, over Alaska and helping us all the way in many different parts of our lives. So thanks so much for joining us again.
Well, happy to be here.
All right. And thank you for staying with us. We'll be back with a little more weather here in just a few minutes. And of course, we'll have more Alaska weather facts anytime online.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Looking at the sea ice analysis for today, you can see that the ice in the Chukchi Sea is pulling north with open water through much of the Chukchi Sea and into the Bering Strait. We also noted some pack ice rapidly deteriorating between Prudhoe Bay and Ukiyavik. You can see the lower concentrations of ice showing up the map there. For marine forecast for Wednesday, southeast inside waters, winds generally from the southeast 10 to 20, seas as high as 4 feet on the southern end of the inside waters. Outside waters, winds generally from the east 15 to 20, seas as high as 9 feet. And for Thursday's forecast, inside waters, winds variable between 5 and 15 knots with seas as high as 3 feet. Winds on the outside waters, winds generally from the west at 10 to 15, seas as high as 7 feet. And for South Central on Wednesday, Prince William Sound, winds generally from the east at 10, seas as high as 2 feet. The outside waters in the Gulf, winds generally variable 10 to 15. Cook Inlet, winds generally from the east or west, depending on which end of the inlet you are on, 10 to 20, seas as high as 5 feet in Kamishak Bay area. Thursday's South Central, Prince William Sound, winds generally from the southwest at 10, seas as high as 2 feet. In the Gulf region, winds generally from the south 15 to 20, seas as high as 6 feet. And for Wednesday's marine forecast for Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, around Kodiak Island, winds generally from the southwest 15 to 20, seas as high as 7 feet, just east of Kodiak Island. On the south side of the peninsula, winds generally from the southeast at 20, seas as high as 6 feet. North side of the peninsula, winds generally from the east 10 to 25, seas as high as 4 feet. For Thursday, around Kodiak Island, winds generally from the southwest 15, seas as high as 7 feet. South side of the peninsula, winds generally from the south at 15, seas as high as 7 feet. And north side of the peninsula, winds generally variable 10 knots, seas as high as 2 feet. And for Aleutian Chain on Wednesday, winds generally from the east or southerly direction over the eastern and central, 20 to 25 knots, seas as high as 10 feet just south of Atka. And the western side of the Aleutians, winds generally from the north at 15, seas as high as 6 feet between Shimmy and Kiska. Otherwise westerly between Kiska and Adak, sea as high as 25 knots, seas as high as 8 feet. For Thursday, for the central and eastern, winds generally from the south 15 to 20, seas as high as 9 feet. In the western side of the Aleutians, winds generally from the north at 20 knots, seas as high as 6 feet. For the west coast, winds generally from the east at 10 to 15, with 20 there near the Pribilos, seas as high as 5 feet down that way. Otherwise, north and south, winds generally from the south west at 10, seas as high as 2 feet. And for Thursday, winds generally from the north or west 10 to 20, seas as high as 4 feet, just south of St. Lawrence Island, St. Matthew Island. Otherwise, now around the Pribilos, winds generally from the east at 15, seas as high as 3 feet. For Wednesday's forecast for the Arctic coast, along the Arctic coast, winds generally from the east 10 to 15, with some areas of ice up there. In the open areas, seas as high as 2 feet. In the northwest coast through the Chukchi Sea, winds generally from the east 15 to 20, and down through the Bering Strait, winds generally from the south 15, seas as high as 4 feet. And for Thursday, winds along the Arctic coast there, winds generally from the northeast at 10 to 15 in the open areas, seas as high as 2 feet. And for the Chukchi Sea northwest coast, winds generally from the northeast at 20, seas as high as 5 feet, and down through the Bering Strait, winds generally from the northwest at 10, and seas as high as 2 feet. For tonight's weather, a low near the Aleutians, spreading rain showers through the southern Bering and out through the eastern Aleutians, 996 millibar low. Otherwise, ridge high pressure poking into the southwest, with fog out through much of the eastern Bering and into the southwest, with low pressure systems in the eastern interior and another low pressure system near Panhandle spreading rain showers. For Wednesday's weather, continued high pressure over the southwest, afternoon thunderstorms in the eastern interior, and a weakening low.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.